When you're faced with an opportunity that seems risky, what do? How do you plot through it, plan through it, think through it? Should you take this step? Should you take this action that feels like risk? What should you do? So a lot of times as a Christian, what we'll do is we'll pray about it. And that's a great thing. And we should, and we will, and we do. But I've found that there can sometimes be this hang up that we get where if it feels too scary, feels too risky, we'll often say, well, I didn't have a peace about doing that, so I decided to stay where I was at. I felt a check in my spirit. We say things like this, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what I want you to see, and I want you to have a process. I want you to know that, I guess what I'm trying to say is, I've heard lots of Christians say those cool Christian-y things, but what they really meant was, I was too scared to do it. And that's not God directing you. Because, man, God's a good God, but it doesn't always lead you down a safe, easy path. Oftentimes, these big faith steps we're going to take will feel like risk. Feeling like risk is not an indicator that you shouldn't do it. It's often a time where you need to just man up, woman up, and do it anyway. That's why there were so many times where God said, do not be afraid. Only believe. I haven't looked it up myself, but they say that is repeated 365 times in the Bible, one for each day of the year. Don't be afraid. Only be courageous. Be of good courage. Be of good cheer. There's one that says, do not be afraid. Do not be dismayed. Do not be discouraged. But only believe, because God is with you. He never leaves you, nor forsakes you, nor abandons you. So basically saying, hey, it might feel risky. It might look scary. This might be a big move, but do it anyway. I'm with you. I got you. So I say all that to say, because, I've heard just, like I said, so many stories of where a Christian had an opportunity to do something, to get into to buy a house, to start a business, to start a ministry, to do this, to speak at this thing, to do that. Here's an opportunity to speak. Oh, I don't know if God's giving me a peace about it. Well, it's really just you being like super nervous and scared to speak publicly. But it's just the devil talking you out of opportunities and blessings, opportunities for advancement, opportunities for promotion. Maybe we got to be stretched a little bit. That's okay. And you can actually get to a spot where you enjoy this. You see the excitement in the adventure of it all. So here's what I want to talk to you about. Specifically, here's how I'm thinking through something. And this is a process I used when I started my very first business, started an ice cream truck business back in 2010. All right. It made no sense logically to do it when I did it. I was getting married and didn't have a job and all these different things. But I used this process to think through it. And I just want to show you this process. And I want you to apply it to what you're thinking on right now and consider it. I'll just put it that way. All right, so I'm thinking through an investment opportunity. And here's kind of what it looks like. I'm not going to use exact details. I'll give you the ballpark. So with this investment opportunity, I need to put in $50K. All right, so when I invest this $50K, it will basically pay me $1,000 a day. I'll put it this way. I need to add $50,000 to my current investment to get to $1,000 a day. So I already have a little bit invested. I need to add $50,000 and it will make me $1,000 a day. That's pretty cool. Like, I don't have to do any work and it makes me $1,000 a day. That's pretty nice. And what's cool is I can take and access that $1,000 a day every single day. So I could get up at 6 a.m., pull out my $1,000 for the day. Now, you might be saying, well, Trav, that sounds phenomenal. Why wouldn't you do it? Well, thinking through this, the negative or the risk is that the investment goes away. The company decides to shut down. They're like, this is too much. I don't want to mess with this anymore. I'm out. So I would lose my $50K plus the other stuff I had invested. So I would lose that money. Let's say, just ballparking. This is not the exact number, but let's say I would lose $70K. That's the worst case scenario. So I got to think through that. If I lost it, what would my life look like? If this happened, if it went away, well, I could get it back. Because I got it one time. God provided it for me once. He'll provide it for me again. So I would be out 70 plus grand and maybe some time, but maybe not that much time. So if it all went away, everything goes south, I lose 70 grand. Worst case scenario, I'm out 70 and I'd build it back. See, I'm personally a believer that God is my source and supply of finances. I believe the Holy Spirit helps us financially. I believe that James 1:5 is true. You can ask him for wisdom in anything, and he'll give you wisdom. So if I need more money, he'll help me get it. If I need to make an investment like this, he'll help me with it. He'll lead me and guide me. So the way I look at this is, worst case scenario, I'm out a little bit of money. But I could build it back. God will help me get it again. He helped me the first time. He'll help me the second time. He'll help me forever. Now you have to believe that. I believe that. I believe all the scriptures, Philippians 4:19, 2 Corinthians 8:9, 2 Corinthians 9:8 through 10. I believe all those. Right? Go back to any of my other videos on this channel and watch some of those if you don't have faith for that. So, that's the worst case scenario. But let's look at the best case scenario. Here's where we can put our focus. Let's say this does work. Let's say I'm making $1,000 a day tomorrow. Put yourself in this situation too. Let's say you're making $1,000 a day tomorrow. Best case scenario. Well, my goodness, I don't know what you live off of, but look at it this way. Now you have an asset that can basically get you financial freedom. So let's say it costs you 10 grand a month to run your household. Well, first 10 days, every single day, you wake up at, or whatever time you come in your office, it's 6 a.m. and you pull out your $1,000 for the first 10 days, all your bills and expenses are paid. Okay, that's fun. And you still got 20 more days of the month left. So now you've got all your expenses covered, and you still have $20K that you can use to rapidly pay off debt. You could use some of that. Maybe you take half of that. These are just hypotheticals. You can do what you want. Maybe you take half of that and reinvest it into other investments so all your eggs aren't in this one basket. Reinvest to diversify. That could be smart. You know what I'm saying? Like you could, whatever it is. Build your savings up. Save up for that new house, down payment, whatever. So I kind of look through these things, and the worst case scenario, yeah, it's a bummer. But it's also temporary. Does this worst case scenario, basically it's like best case scenario versus worst case scenario. In my opinion, the best case scenario payoff is worth risking the worst case scenario payoff. You see what I'm saying? Like, if this works, you win. You're making 30 grand a month. You don't have clients. You don't have advertising costs. You don't have employees. You don't have overhead. You make 30,000 a month. You tithe 3 grand. You put 3 to 5 of that into another account for taxes. You invest some of it, and you live and give off the rest. Life gets pretty fun. That best case scenario is pretty sweet. So I personally would be willing to risk $70,000 and some time if I needed to build it back up, which again, God's going to help you with that, versus if I didn't even take this risk, I'd never have a chance of getting to that $1,000 a day in true passive income. Yeah, I guess that's the other part I should point out. It's like actual passive income. I've made $1,000 a day in, with business and stuff, but it's not passive. And there's a lot of other things that go with it. I want to be an investor, and I want to own this investment that pays me $1,000 a day in passive income. So to me, the best case scenario far outweighs the worst case scenario. I'm willing to risk losing $70K in some time in order to possibly gain true financial freedom. And I think this way of thinking is how the wealthy and successful have to think. I think that the poor and middle class will not take this risk. Because if you remember, go back through my series I did on the middle class mindset versus the millionaire's mindset. If you remember, the middle class seek comfort. The wealthy seek freedom. The poor seek survival. But I don't think that's who I'm talking to today. I think most of us would kind of fall in that middle class range. And that's not a knock. I'm not like bashing anybody. I'm just saying, let's get out of it. God didn't make anybody middle. He didn't make anybody middle class. Jesus said, if you're lukewarm, I'm spitting you out. I'd rather you be hot or cold. I think he made every single one of us first class. He's the highest form of creation. You're the highest form of creation. He made nothing above you. That doesn't sound economy, middle class, or average to me. So if you're watching this video and what I'm saying is resonating with you, you need to strike the middle class mentality from your mind. Go back and watch my series on this. And you need to start acting and thinking like the wealthy. So the wealthy seek freedom. I got that from that book, The Middle Class Mindset versus the Millionaire's Mindset. You got to know the differences. So, you are now wealthy. So what do? You seek freedom. So up here, with my investment opportunity, this can provide freedom. If it works. It can provide freedom if it works. Over here, me keeping my 70 grand provides comfort. I would just feel more comfortable keeping that 70 grand in a bank account. Well, I understand the logic there. I get it. But that sounds pretty middle class to me. It would feel better to just comfortably have that 70K in a bank account at your bank. It's not doing anything, not making you any money, just sitting there so you can look at it and feel better. Okay? But when you seek comfort, guess what you're going to get? Comfort. That's it. The wealthy seek freedom. I want freedom. I don't want a day job. I don't want a boss telling me what I'm worth, how much money I can make, when I can leave, when I can go to lunch, dictating my entire schedule. No, not me. I'm seeking freedom. So, if you're seeking freedom too, you got to play out this worst case scenario versus best case scenario. So the first time I did it, it was with starting a business. And this might be where you're at as well. Nothing wrong with businesses. Obviously, I like them. I'm talking about an investment opportunity for me. For you, it might be something like starting a business. Well, and you play out the worst case scenario. And I got this from Tim Ferriss in the 4-Hour Workweek. It's a great book, and he helps kind of role play this out. It opened my eyes. Again, the worst case scenario, you start a business, and this is not going to happen because you're not going to mortgage your house away. But if you mortgaged your house, don't do that, and your car, in the worst case scenario, Trav, if I start this business, the worst case scenario would be they repo my house, they repo my car, and my bank account gets zeroed out. Here's what's cool about all those things. One, none of them are really going to happen. But two, if your mind's going that deep with it, which that happens to most people, so I get it, is all these things are temporary. If your house got repoed, you can go rent. You can go rent a house for a little bit. It's not great, but it's also not going to kill you. If they take your car away, it's fine. You can you'll end up getting something small, getting like a $3,000, $4,000 car, get you to point A to point B, and go get a job. You'll be okay. Bank account goes to zero. You put a couple months on credit cards. It's all fine. Life's long. You're going to be great. It's all temporary. You've still got God. You still got your church. You still got your family. You still got your spouse. You still got the word. Like, you're going to be fine, guys. So the worst case scenario is temporary. Your life might drop on a scale of 1 to 10. Your life might be a temporary 5. Temporary. But best case scenario, you start that business and you start making 6 figures, and then to 7, and then to 8. You're fulfilled. You're doing what God's called you to do. You're excited. You wake up every day at 5 a.m. without an alarm clock. You're ready to get after it. It's the greatest feeling in the world. You're debt free. You pay stuff off. You start being radically generous. You're tithing and giving and sowing and blessing and paying off other people's houses now. And your life becomes a 10. Can you see how the best case scenario outweighs the risk of the worst case scenario? And what's cool about this is it's permanent. It's not temporary. Your life becomes a permanent 10 because you, in your journey to start the business, you became a different person. You had to learn stuff. You had to shift your mindset. You had to work on yourself and develop. And you have become somebody new. You've learned how to create wealth. You've learned how to manage and run people. You've learned how to do risky, hard things. You've become a new person. So now this life of a 10 becomes permanent. Over here in the worst case scenario, it's just a temporary 5. We'll get you back up to a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The risk is temporary, but the payoff could be permanent. This pattern or this exercise right here changed my life. Now I do stuff that other people consider risky. I don't even think of it as risk because all I can see is the best case scenario. And look, not everything I've ever done has turned out phenomenal. Some of it fizzled, some of it just did okay, some of it kind of paid the bills for a minute, kind of broke even. But then there have been some things that were great. And where I'm at now is a great spot. And there's some temporary things that, like I said, but it's all temporary. No big deal. Not failure, I'm not down and out, not beating myself up. I'd have to think really, really hard to even call anything I've done a failure. To me, it just was like, that didn't work so well, let's pivot. And just pivot. Keep going, keep rolling, keep trucking. Oh, it's a beautiful way to live. I want to get you guys there. Take this scenario, play it out. Man, play out that best case scenario. Is it worth the risk of a temporary 5 in life in order to potentially get yourself to a 10? I don't know. What do you guys think? Maybe let me know in the comments. It's not going to move me from my decision. I'm just curious as to how you guys are thinking about what I just presented here. So if you have an investment opportunity that could get you to $1,000 per day, locked in like clockwork, it doesn't fluctuate. It just makes you $1,000 a day. But you had to risk 50 to 70K to do it. Would that payoff be worth it? Or are you thinking man, I'd rather just hold on to that money. I'd rather just kind of hoard it up over in my bank account. That would make me feel better. Let me know some of your thoughts in the comments. I'm curious. No condemnation or conviction either way. I'm just kind of curious to who I'm talking to here. So I hope this helps you. This is how I think through things. Now, everything I do is also with consideration and prayer. My point, I think, was I wanted to show you that once you play, you might pray about something and feel it's just too risky. But then you go and do this exercise and be like, that best case scenario is pretty attractive. If that did work, even if it's an if it works scenario, my life goes to another level. Man, I could get out of debt in, whatever it is for you, 300 days, 400 days, 500 days. I could get completely everything paid off. Man, I'd have financial breathing room, right? I start focusing on the best case scenario and imagining that, playing it out. What would it feel like? What would life look like? Oh, man. And it's only a 70K risk. I think we should do it. I hope this helped you. I hope this was something different. This was a new way of thinking for you that most people, especially in the Christian space and the church space, are not teaching or talking about. I love you guys. I'll see you in the next one. And if you haven't already, click the link below and go through the Increase Challenge. It's going to help you start recognizing these little hidden poverty mindsets we didn't even know were there. And they've actually been the reason that you're not where you want to be financially. So I'm going to take you through a quick 5-video, 5-lesson deal, and we're going to help find those poverty mindsets. We're going to completely obliterate and eradicate them. We're going to replace them with God's promise for increase. And I'm going to show you how to start walking out the increase life. After that, we have Increase University. I'm going to help you find your thing. I'm going to help you unlock increase in every area of your life, your faith, your finances, fulfillment, family, even your fitness. We're going to create the life you can't wait to wake up for. It's a great way to live, and we're going to show you how to do it, all of that while honoring God at the same time. See you on the inside.